Hey, what's going on, guys? It is your good friend Matt. We're back again here today at the only place that we always can be. And as you already know, that's Matt's Wrestling Collectibles right here on YouTube. Today, guys, I am finally getting around to this, and we're actually going to wrap it up here today. I wanted to do the review of the Vince McMahon docuseries episode by episode. Essentially, as I said to you guys, we'll do 6 reviews per episode, well, 1 review per each episode, so 6 reviews in total, 1 per episode, and I was going to do a 7th review where I kind of finalized everything, or I might have included it in the 6th review video. But we've already done episodes 1 and 2, and I was going to continue to go episode by episode and break down episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6. Time has gotten away from me over here, and of course, we've done a few new pickups videos, we've done a few unboxing and review videos, so I'm trying to also balance it where I didn't want to constantly give you guys, 6 days of just the Vince McMahon documentary. And especially with so many people kind of having their own opinion on this already, they've already heard so much about it. For a lot of you that follow, 83 weeks, it's definitely something that you've all, seen a lot of, and even in the documentary itself, it's a lot of what we've already seen a lot of. So I was debating on exactly how I wanted to go about this. I kept saying, what is the best method here? Do I just wrap this up? Do I do a final review? And that is what brought us to this video today. So what I'm going to do right now, guys, is I am going to go over not really so much episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6, but I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about it, and I'm going to review this as a whole. This is going to be the final review. This is going to be the be-all, end-all of the Vince McMahon documentary as far as, what we talk about for right now. Will there be another set of episodes? Will there be another season? I don't know. With what Netflix has claimed that they have, I could imagine that they could definitely do more with this, but I don't really think it's gonna make a whole lot of sense until there's something to actually talk about. So to kind of just jump into where we're at right now, episode 3 starts with basically well, I mean, the title in and of itself is Screwjob. It starts off with letting everybody know kind of what went on with Wendy Richter, and a good story for some people who don't know about it. It was something that I had heard about already prior. I mean, obviously, I have seen the match. I've seen clips of it on YouTube. And, of course, we already knew something was up that night, but I don't think we knew exactly what was going on. It was a different time period, number one. The amount of social media and the amount of things that were, going on at that time, none. Your forms of media, in essentially, let's just say, the day Wendy Richter got screwed out of her title. How would you find out about that? Well, you would either have to know a wrestler, and they would have to tell you, or you'd have to know somebody who knows a wrestler, or you could keep the line going and say you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. And guess what? All you have to know is this buddy right here. So this is exactly where you would get that information, from knowing somebody. Maybe a newspaper article was posted, like the Phil Mushnick stuff, maybe he would have posted something about it, or written an article. I shouldn't say posted, but, written and produced an article. So either that way, you didn't really have many options. It was a newspaper, might have been a magazine, something along those lines, but you weren't going to find out like you would today. If Wendy Richter right now, tonight, was going out on AEW, and that was going to happen tonight on AEW. First match of the night. Hey, Wendy Richter, you're going to defend your women's championship against Fabulous Moolah. And, when you guys walk away, I'm going to get the ref and tell the ref, hey, listen, Wendy's got to get rid of that belt. She doesn't want to give it up, so Moolah already knows the deal. Moolah's going to roll her up. The second she hits the mat, I want you to be right there. That's it. 3 count. Done and over. So that's how this was all set up. And very similar to the situation where it leads into talking about Bret Hart and the screw job of Bret Hart. But again, guys, this is something where it was part of the business, and it starts off kind of easing its way into the Montreal screw job, but it lets, kind of let you know that this has happened prior. This isn't a, first time thing in wrestling when this happened between, Vince, Bret, Shawn, and anybody else who was involved. But as far as the situation goes, as far as everything that has happened, with that and bringing it to light again is very cool. I mean, because it's enticing to hear a story like that. It's nice to hear something where you're like, oh, cool, this is the backstage realities of the wrestling business, to where, you know, like, and I hate to be this person, but Wendy Richter, I admire her in the sense of a female professional wrestler, a woman's professional wrestler, and I definitely would say that she is one of maybe the staples that did pave a little bit of the way for the future. And of course, I mean, you could say that about anybody who was there prior to who's there today, but some people have more of an impact than others. And of course, her being champion, you know, she was very colorful, very vibrant, and it was you know, a good look at the time. However, when she sits there and says, oh, it crushed my dreams, it did this, it did that, but you're working in a business where it is predetermined outcome, unless something happens on the fly. You are in a predetermined situation where, hey, tonight you're going to drop the belt. Oh, well, no, I'm not. What do you mean? It's a TV show that I am writing the script to, quoting Vince McMahon when I say that. And that is exactly what Vince said. What are you not understanding? This is a TV show. I am directing it. I am producing it. I am telling you, you are losing the belt tonight. You know, so it's just, I don't know. It can be very back and forth. In the example of that, and I don't mean to say this so, you know, bluntly, and say this also about Brett, but if Vince went to Wendy and went to Brett and said, hey, listen, Wendy, you're staying in the company, but we got to take the belt off you. It's going to somebody else. It's going to so-and-so. And that's the direction we're going right now. And if it comes back to this, you know, we get back to it. I'm not dropping the belt. Okay, well, guess what, Wendy? When Vince went to the ref and said, hey, Moolah's going to roll her up, and that's it, you deserved every bit of it. Same thing with Brett. I hate to say it like this. Brett, it doesn't matter whether it's Montreal or it's in frickin' Minnesota. You're going to another company, correct? Yes, we all know this. You're done here. All right, so tonight you are going to lay down and drop the belt. Oh, no, I'm not doing that. Okay, well, Brett, guess what? When you walked away and Vince went to the ref and went to Sean and said, hey, Sean, you're going to flip him over in the sharpshooter, and the ref is going to go, ring the bell. Brett deserved every bit of it. Guess what? Brett did screw Brett. That's the truth. Brett could have walked out of there on much better terms. None of that had to happen. You know, again, I'm not going to debate the professional wrestling industry of what people are doing because, of course, that's their prerogative. It's my opinion. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it wrong. Everybody else has their opinion as well. You guys can drop it down in the comments below. I'd love to read it. But the problem is you're doing a job for a business, and it would be the same thing as if tomorrow I get up, I hop in my 18-wheeler, and, you know, my boss says, hey, you're going to go to this place, and you're going to pick up this material. You're going to go from there to this place, and you're going to dump it. And you're going to keep doing that all day long. And if my boss said to me, hey, you need to be at Material Sand and Stone and pick up 1/4-inch gravel, it's going to go to 123 Main Street. Well, if I go to Cardi and pick up hot asphalt and go dump it in someone's driveway, I think I'm going to have a problem. I'm probably not going to have a job. So, again, it's all in what you do. So, to kind of fast forward a little bit, you know, there's a little bit more in this. They talk about the trial, Vince, you know, being basically acquitted and not, you know, no guilt found on him. Hulk Hogan takes a huge turn in the process. The FBI recruits Hogan and basically knows, hey, Hogan's going to WCW. He's got nothing to do with McMahon anymore, so we'll get Hogan under our thumb. He's going to do what we say. It's going to put McMahon away. At the end of the day, whether or not Hogan told Vince, I'll never work for somebody else but you, and then went and did it, Hogan showed up there and completely blindsided and double-crossed the FBI and told it like it was, and, you know, basically said that Vince had nothing to do with this. So, and do I believe that? I don't know. Put it to you this way. When people sit there and say, hey, Vince could have walked up to you and said, hey, bud, you know, yeah, you need to work out more. And that could have been the exact translation of, you need to go get steroids and take them. That doesn't mean that it's Vince saying, hey, you need to work out more and take steroids per my, here it is. And I'm either going to hand this to you for free, take it, or I'm going to hand this to you and receive money. Regardless of the fact, if that didn't happen, then Vince is completely innocent. Only the people who did it and the people who know about it can say that. But I will say this, every single person who discussed it that had no reason to stay good with Vince, Tony Atlas being one of them. Hey, we want you to testify against Vince McMahon taking steroids. Well, I was taking steroids long before I ever met Vince. I mean, again, these guys, they were already in the industry. Hulk Hogan was clearly taking steroids before, anything happened with Vince McMahon. So it's nothing against any of them. I mean, it's the nature of the business. You're supposed to be this big, massive guy that it's like, how could somebody ever take you down, And so that's kind of where episode 3 kind of goes through that. And like I said, I didn't want to stick into episode by episode, and so we're kind of jumping to the end here a little bit now. Again, not making this review super long, but just to, kind of speak my opinion and my piece. And the next big thing that really comes out of this that is what I would say is what's so deceiving about this. I think everybody here can kind of all agree with this when I say it. When this was announced to us, I think we had a month or less from the time Netflix announced this happening. Netflix dropped this, the McMahon, as you see as the thumbnail of this video. The background, that's what it was. And I don't think they gave us more than a month, or roughly a month, for this documentary to come out. That's, as far as I know, it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks prior that I found out about it. So, again, I could be wrong. But at bare minimal, or the maximum, we had 30 days to prepare for this documentary. When it was announced, when it was dropped, when we got that poster as the ad campaign for it, I think everybody under the sun said, this is going to be a 6-part documentary about Vince McMahon and everything that's going on right now. The second that first episode started and they had to disclaim and let everybody know, we recorded 100+ hours of interviews for this documentary prior to Vince McMahon being accused of what he's currently being accused of. And once that accusation came out, Vince walked out the door and was done with this. Now, did Vince want it to be done right then and there? I don't know. Maybe as time went down the road, it became what it was. I will say this. I very heavily believe that Netflix knew exactly what they were doing. They said, hey, Episode 1, we're going to hit them with 15 minutes of what's going on right now. Episode 6, we'll hit them with about 30 minutes of it. So with 6 hours, you got about 30 to 45 minutes about what is currently going on. In the process of that, they made this documentary parts of what it was originally going to be. Let's face it, had this whole McMahon thing never come about, this would be a documentary about Vince McMahon, the industry, things that we basically already knew. I mean, I hate to say it, but if you take 6 hours of this documentary, right, minus 45 minutes where they talk about the allegations that are going on right now, which we basically already heard of already, but we'll use it for just the sake of argument. Okay, now we've got 5 hours and 15 minutes to fill. Out of that 5 hours and 15 minutes, I will tell you right now, 3.5 hours of it, or let's even go a little bit further. Let's say 4 hours and 15 minutes of it is all stuff we already knew. Okay, that leaves an hour. There's an hour of this documentary that is stuff we didn't really know. Granted, some things were already discussed with Vince and his mother and father. Some things were brought up over time. But it has changed so much as far as what we got to see here. Learning about a few other things. Learning about a few things with his father. But not enough. We didn't get the backstory that we wanted. I think people thought, okay, first off, before this even happened, we thought we were going to get Vince McMahon really breaking down the wall, letting people into who he is as a person. At the very beginning of this, it proved to be completely the opposite as well. Well, tell us some good stories. Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. I mean, oh, God, I wish I could tell you the stories. But I'm not going to do that. I'll tell you just enough to make it interesting. And I'm not quoting word for word, but we're, close. Right then and there, it's literally telling you that I, Vince McMahon, don't really want you to know me. I don't really want you to know who I am. And I think that led to what exactly we got. As this continued to progress, as this documentary has, become exactly what it is, kind of a bit of a poking shot at Vince McMahon at this point, because what they did was, let's just say, originally it was, hey, 6 episodes, 6 hours, we're gonna give you an hour of McMahon's life that you never knew, an hour of backstage stuff that you never knew, but instead they took everything that they had and they started to kind of make it like a hate film. And that's my opinion. Again, I think that they spun the narrative very, very hard. I don't think it was exactly what it was supposed to be. And again, I think that they kind of brought us in on the illusion that we were going to get so much information about Vince. Oh, wow, well, now that we know about what's going on, they're going to break all these allegations and break down all this stuff step by step. They didn't really do that. Oh, we're going to get Vince's backstory. We're going to know so much more about Vince McMahon that we never knew. But they didn't really do that. So, again, after this whole entire thing is said and done, I think the take that I bring from it is just that. I think this initially started as a great background to Vince McMahon. What an amazing pioneer he was, putting all businesses kind of out of business to create this empire and this mecca. It started by, I believe, shutting down 6 or 8 territories or whatever it was, 8 or 10 territories. All right, I shut all you guys down. All right, well, hey, there was 8 territories, 5 great stars from every territory, so I brought those 40 people here. They're under the WWF. The other 50 people each territory had that were junk. Yeah, go figure it out somewhere else. Okay, see you later. Now it's WWE, WCW. All right, we keep going, we keep going. Your methods to put me under eventually put yourself under, and now here I am. How am I on WCW television? You may ask yourself. Well, it's only a matter of time before I bought my competition. And you even look back at that. Vince says, wow, what did I do? I actually was in better standings when I had competition than when I didn't. And we could also even talk about him basically taking out, ECW in some ways. But, again, so many different scenarios that we could play out here, so many different ways that we could spin this. Again, my take from this, though, is that once this all happened and Netflix knew that Vince wanted nothing more to do with it, but Netflix had the ability to still create this, I think they baited and switched us so easily by putting out a promo and poster that made us think we were going to get something we weren't. The other side of it that made us think that we were going to get something different when we started watching it kind of didn't happen either. And by the time it is all said and done, 6 hours later, as I just said, you basically got an hour's worth of information that you didn't know, and 6 hours of information we've already heard time and time again. We've heard all about the Superdome, the Silver Dome, the Dome of Domes, the Home Dome. It don't matter what dome it is. We've heard about all the domes. We've heard about the 93, 98,000, whatever the hell it is. Who knows, right? We've heard all about the Montreal Screwjob. We heard about WCW. We heard about the Attitude Era. So other than the little things they put in, what did we learn? Nothing. And the other thing that I do got to say that I enjoy is you have a few people that are known to be close to Vince. And Vince in the interview basically saying, oh, well, Mr. McMahon and Vince McMahon, the character versus the person are not the same person. Cut scene to 3 or 4 people all telling you that Vince is Vince. Mr. McMahon is Vince. And the thing people don't realize is character work is at its best when you are the person that you're portraying. That is where it becomes key. It becomes almost simple work at that point because you're being yourself. Do you want to know why some of the greatest heels ever stayed being great? It was because it's who they were. I have no doubt in my mind that a guy such as Roddy Piper, probably great, and I'm not saying, you know, anything bad, but was genuinely a mean guy, and it helped his character, you know. Not to say he wouldn't be a great person to meet, you know, God rest his soul, but there's a difference, you know. Paying tribute and paying back your fans doesn't mean that you're still not a bad person. But then there's times where guys that you think are great wind up being some of the worst people ever. You know, and not to even go into much as they talked about with Benoit, but Benoit being one of them, you know. Great person, seemingly great, did a horrific act that, you know, needs to be separated. That's, if I can give anybody any advice that's watching this, that's where people need to kind of make the disconnect at times. Chris Benoit, the human being who on his day off gets up and got dressed in his house and did what he wanted to do, piece of shit. The Chris Benoit that came out of the locker room for WrestleMania 20 to beat Shawn Michaels and Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship is an amazing performer and did absolute wonders and elevated parts of the business for guys who weren't 6'5", 300 pounds. However, that is where you have to make the cut, the line that needs to be drawn. Some people can't do that, and it's fine. It's fine, you know. It brings me to the guy that I think everybody's seen at this point. It's still real to me, damn it. You know, people like that, they whatever. They're going to go about their life the way they go about it. To me, these people are performers. They're athletes. They're sports entertainers. They are professional wrestlers. That is their job. If I met one of them, if I saw one of them in public, I would take them as a person. Yes, the excitement would be there. Yes, I would be extremely, you know, wow, this is great. I get to meet somebody who I've watched for so long perform on TV. But the difference is they're still a person. They're not the person you see, aside from the fact that, like an example, Randy Orton might be one of the greatest heels of all time because there is something inside that man that is truly mean, vicious, vindictive. The intent is there, but he might be a great person. That is not to say anything bad about Randy Orton. That is to say so much praise and so much good about somebody who can do that and show that from the ring to outside the ring. It's just everywhere. You know what I mean? It's about who the person is. You know, there's a lot of guys that have been great heels. Hulk Hogan was a great heel. Edge was a great heel. Triple H was a great heel. There's so many that can be great heels. Macho Man, when he was Macho King, Randy Savage in his heel run of that. I mean, maybe one of the best heels to play the role. But again, this documentary, I think, just proved that Vince McMahon and Mr. McMahon, you take 100% of both to have a 200% total. At the end of the day, 10% gets left in each. 180% comes together because it's the same person. I want to end this review with this. My opinions of Vince McMahon have not really changed. Throughout the years, I've always thought that he is a very rich, powerful man, and power brings a lot of things. And when I say that, I mean that you might tell somebody that you wouldn't do something, like, for example, the guy with the cardboard sign that says, anything helps, don't give me money on the street corner. You probably wouldn't do something for him if he asked you. Maybe, maybe not. You know, again, scenario-based. But the guy who you know is a millionaire that could change your life, and the guy that could do anything that possibly could change the way you're living right this second, no, I'm just saying, money makes people do weird things. Money makes people do some of the most outlandish things that they have never, ever, ever had the thought of doing. And that is why, when I bring this to this close, I think what we got was a true story in some regards to the little bits of how McMahon played it out. McMahon was able to put himself all over Sable. He was able to put himself all over Trish Stratus, all over Dawn Marie, who wasn't even featured in this, amongst other divas. Stacy Keibler. You know, it's a point of being in a position of power. It goes to your head. Am I trying to say that potentially his early years and what he faced could have led to this? Because we don't really know. We know two things are for sure. His mother actually sexually abused him. So Vince McMahon and his mother, something went on there. I have no idea what happened. Whether it was true, you know, incest, which, God, I mean, I can only imagine is where that was going. And then we know his stepfather beat the shit out of him. So, if you had to tell me that you grew up for the first 12 years of your life as a male, a boy growing up, a male boy growing up from age birth to 12, and you told me for 12 years my mother made me do sexual acts with her while my stepfather beat the shit out of me, it leads to things that go undiagnosed and untreated. I am not making excuses for Vince McMahon. By no means. I will tell you this. If you have been done like that, it does not translate or transition to doing it later in life. It does not. Because most people that have that happen to them, most will never allow that pain to go through somebody else. They wouldn't do it. They couldn't even bring themselves to put somebody through what they've been through. The only people who do that, in my opinion, are the same ones that were probably going to be that way whether it happened or not. Do I think Vince McMahon would have been the same person that he's being accused of being right now? Probably, because money brings you to those places. Money brings you to those things. So, with that, I will say this. I make no excuses for Vince McMahon. I only want to say this. He has been through a lot. He is still going to go through a lot. He has a lot ahead of him. We will see where this goes. We will see two things. One is the power of truth and factual evidence going to outweigh the power of money. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure Janelle Grant has a great representative of team or legal team around her, but there is no way it is going to outdo Vince McMahon as far as what it is to be a billionaire. There is no doubt in my mind. Because let's just say right now we pop up their bank accounts. Vince McMahon, 1.7 billion. Janelle Grant, couple $100,000. It speaks for itself. But with that, I will end with this. And I bring this to you because I can. But I will say, to the Vince McMahon that I have grown up, who has created a mecca around me, the figures that surround my room. And of course, I understand Vince McMahon doesn't own Mattel. He didn't own Jax. But Vince McMahon being a big part of everything that goes into what is around me in these four walls. Vince McMahon, the guy who has put on countless shows time and time again. Vince McMahon, who pushed through that Attitude Era and made my childhood full of amazing moments. To what I said before about Chris Benoit, this is where I say this. To draw the line between somebody is where you must do so. Vince McMahon, the character, Vince McMahon, the person, that is where I draw it out. I appreciate and I respect and I thank Vince McMahon, the person who brought every bit of the amazing, absolute, unbelievable moments I've grown up being able to see, as well as the performers involved as well. And I split that off from the Vince McMahon who is being accused of these absolutely heinous, horrendous, and unbelievably vulgar acts that should never have even been a thing. But I draw the line there and I say, I appreciate one while I could give a shit about the other. However, I will say this, regardless of what happens, it is as simple as this. in the near future, or I would say, but it could be a year, it could be even 2 years before we get this final, decision, the verdict. If Vince McMahon is proved to be innocent, I hope all continues to be prosperous and well for him. If Vince McMahon is proven to have been doing this all these years and has done nothing but cause an absolute wedge in the professional wrestling world in what he did, then I hope that every day spent thereforth is nothing but misery, aggravation, and pain, because that is exactly what he deserves after doing what he did to so many others. You could continue to go with this forever, but that's why I'm going to end it here. Guys, I love and I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Like I said, I wanted to wrap this up today. Episodes 1 and 2 are fully reviewed, but from episode 3 to episode 6 and the prologue and the end of this, the wrap up, I guess you could say, this is it. It's done and over. This is where I end this. Until new information maybe comes out, we'll talk about it then. But until then, guys, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you get over there, hit that subscribe button, as well as the bell icon so you can see me every single day. If you haven't already, make sure you get over to Facebook. We just started the new Matt's Wrestling Collectibles public group page. All done with the private group page. We had almost 3,000 people on the private page. We're a little over 100 people right now on the new public page. It is continuing to grow. We will certainly get it there as time continues to go on. Make sure you check that out. If you haven't already, get over to my MERCARI. Check me out on there. It's Matt's Wrestling Collectibles, but MWC2008. And you can find all that information down in the description to this video. But guys, get over to the MERCARI. Follow me on there. Check out my items as well. And as always, guys, I appreciate each and every single one of you for being here with me at the only place that we always can be, Matt's Wrestling Collectibles, right here on YouTube. Until the next video, guys, stay safe, stay tuned, and drop your comments of the opinions you have on the documentary below. Let me know how you feel. I'd love to read them. I'd love to check those out. So, guys, stay safe, stay tuned. I'll catch you all in the next video. And until then, stay blessed.